Hello, this is Willie from the Ozarks, and it is February or March the 24th. We're ready for lesson 83 in A Course in Miracles workbook for students. Lesson 83 is the review for 65 and 66. 65 being my only function is the one God gave me, and 66, my happiness and my function are one. My happiness and my function are one. And what is our function as the light of the world? Or light of the world is my function. Forgiveness is my function as the light of the world. Remember that one? That was just a couple days ago. So yesterday was the light of the world brings peace to every mind through my forgiveness. Did y'all have a good morning session with that one? And the afternoon was let me not forget my function. Let me not forget my function. You're starting to get a sense that our function is basically forgiveness. It's pretty simple. Let go and let God. All right. So we should go through it pretty quick, these next 8 lessons, as far as the time we spend together, because we should have the review concept of what we're going to do in these lessons down now. We're taking that 15 minutes, just a refresher, 15 minutes one time during the day, and we're going to spend the first 3 or 4 minutes reading the lesson. And then we're going to spend the last roughly 12 minutes asking quietly, sitting quietly, waiting attentively for God to speak, to hear the small, still voice within. Okay? Now, before we read the lesson for today, before we read it, lesson 83, just wanted to show you, I had those fig trees, and that fig I showed you earlier is leafing out and looking real good. I'll show it to you again, hopefully, before I put it out. We'll put it out after Danger Frost is over. This one here I picked up. That's a Hardy Chicago again. These things, Hardy Chicago fig, little seedling, look nice and healthy. And of course, I won't put it out until around here. It's around the middle of April. Though last year we had a frost all the way up into May, which was highly unusual. So anyway, we'll still consider April 15th our last day of frost here in the Ozarks, and at least that's what I consider it. And then if we do have a little frost, you'll just have to cover stuff, All right, lesson 84, or 83. My only function is the one God gave me. My happiness and my function are one. Today, let us review these ideas. 65 is my only function is the one God gave me. I have no function but the one God gave me. This recognition releases me from all conflict because it means I cannot have conflicting goals. With one purpose only, I am always certain what to do, what to say, and what to think. All doubt must disappear as I acknowledge that my only function is the one God gave me. In other words, how easy it is just to be yourself is what he's basically saying. He's saying it's yourself to practice forgiveness. Now, you really wouldn't have to practice forgiveness if you never made a judgment. But since we're so habitually making judgments, we're going to have to use forgiveness as the great liberator to bring us to truth. All right? More specific applications of this idea might take these forms. So if you're getting a little upset with somebody and you say, my only function is the one God gave me, and then some specific ways to consider that would be, and he gives 3 examples. My perception of this does not change my function. My perception of this does not change my function. This does not give me a function other than the one God gave me. This does not justify me taking a function other than being the light of the world and practicing forgiveness. And the last example he gives is, let me not use this to justify a function God did not give me. All right? Okay, then in the afternoon, we will look at my happiness and my function are one. My happiness and my function are one. All things that come from God are one. They come from oneness and must be received as one. Fulfilling my function is my happiness because both come from the same source. That's a capitalized S in source. And I must learn to recognize what makes me happy if I would find happiness. I must learn to recognize what makes me happy if I would find happiness. All things that come from God are one. They come from oneness and must be received as one. Fulfilling my function of practicing forgiveness is my happiness because both come from the same source. Both my function and my happiness both come from God. And I must learn to recognize what makes me happy if I would find happiness. That makes sense. Some useful forms for specific application of this idea are, this cannot separate my happiness from my function. So you can say that if something comes up to bother you during the day, you can say, well, this cannot separate my happiness from my function. Nothing can. You might say, the oneness of my happiness and my function remains wholly unaffected by this. So whatever's happening, you say, my function and my happiness are wholly unaffected by what's happening, unless you let it affect you. But in the deeper sense, it doesn't have any bearing anyway. But you might as well be aware of the deeper sense of your identity. And the last example he gives is, if you're having difficulty during the day, nothing including this can justify the illusion of happiness apart from my function. Nothing including this can justify the illusion of happiness apart from my function. So the two reviews, my only function is the one God gave me, and my happiness and my function are one. So abide in that happiness, and until tomorrow, my only function is the one God gave me. My happiness and my function are one.